Welcome to the Walker Talker. 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 So let's get to talking.
Welcome to the Walker Talkers indeed. And welcome back to PanNerdia. Hey, Ron here.
Pete as well.
What's going on, everybody?
Time to get to talking.
Oh,
about
yeah.
the Walking Dead, that is.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just noticing that we had some technical problems starting off the video, and a lot of my graphics are all off balance right now.
Yes, technical difficulties. And you know what? That aside, though, there's no Walking Dead show to watch tonight, so this review is going to be a review / miniature preview of the next 8 episodes that'll happen
Right.
in late February, I guess they start.
You got that right. Make sure everything else is cool here. All right.
Hey, can you hear us?
Yeah, everybody should be able to hear us here fine and dandy. But yeah, guys, thanks for sticking with us with these technical difficulties here. I make sure all my graphics are lined up. I'm sure all my pictures and everything are slid off path too.
I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, here we go. We'll adjust everything. Stand by, everybody.
Stand by here, guys, while we just adjust some stuffs. Yeah, guys, thanks for sticking with us with these
Yeah, a little test there.
preview. Sorry, it's a little sneak into the preview. We're going to take that right back off.
You know what? While you're doing that, can I just set up the clip that we're going to see anyhow?
Yeah, the clip they're seeing for 1 second. I'm going to click right off again.
Well, here, how can I start? Well, the fog has set in thick, right, as you saw for a moment there. The storm is flashing lightning. Jesus and Aaron get pinned in an overgrown graveyard / courtyard, fenced-in cemetery place, right?
Right.
With a crippled Eugene, so he's not really getting anywhere fast with that knee being like dislocated or whatever. But while trying to dig out that sunken metal gate door and lifting Eugene up, a battle ensues, and we see an awesome display of Aaron and Jesus tag teaming walkers in kill after glorious kill until the second wave of, or the second attack of walkers, which basically was like the herders. Well, or should I say, that's right, the Whisperers.
Right.
Because they were herding in walkers, and our crew, our characters had no idea yet what they were about to face. And, well, one Whisperer becomes many, and Michonne, along with a surprise visit from Manga and Yoko there, you have to follow the show, know what I'm talking about, help open the gate just enough to get Eugene out and Aaron out. Jesus, though, wanted to show off. He didn't leave. He stays behind and masterfully, with his sword and martial arts skills, slays many walkers, even perhaps some Whisperers. And suddenly, he is sucker backstabbed by a Whisperer whom ducked and spun and did in Jesus with a big old blade. But before he fell to his death, Jesus there, and during that shock by the other characters, one of the Whisperers whispers in his ear before he drops down to the floor. He goes,
and what does he say?
"You are where you do not belong." Right out of the comic. Ooh.
Oh yeah, it's pretty. It gave some suspense, some spookiness back into the show that I really was really missing. So I'm really glad they ended up doing that. But hey, should we show them the clip?
Without further ado, let's show them a little tidbit.
What?
Oh.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys, but enjoy.
Walker Talker.
Oh man, I love it.
Well, look here.
This is a cool shot, kind of 300-ish, but you know what? Hats off to him. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, in a warehouse with like foam structures and stuff, they made it really look really good.
There we go. Oh, whoo! Ultra Instinct. Oh.
And why aren't there more swords used in The Walking Dead? Like everybody should have.
At this point,
sword.
everybody should have.
You need
sword.
a long-range blade. At this point, apparently, 6+ years past Rick, it's worse. There's more walkers than before. You'd think there'd be more decay and killed off walkers and whatnot, but no, there's a lot more.
There's a lot more. So and less ammo. So melee weapons should be the weapon of choice regardless, and especially swords, because slicey dicey with these rotten dudes, and even more so to get these wolves in sheep clothing, as we should say. But hey, Pete, should we bust them out with a little synopsis?
Well, sure. I mean, first of all, as Daryl and Aaron and Jesus go on their rescue mission for Eugene, Michonne, after many years, perhaps many years, visits Hilltop, and surprisingly also visits with Carol. They weren't both expecting to be there at that time, and it's turned out that way. Rosita passed out with key walker info. She knew about the whole Whisperer stuff, right? And Eugene wasn't found yet, so all the details weren't given yet. And then there was Henry discovering his teenagehood in a different place and all, and the attention or lack thereof attention of Negan's prison cell.
And we'll talk about Henry a little bit more too.
Oh yeah, we will. But and then of course the whole Negan in the cell thing. We'll get to that too. But that's pretty much it. The rest, the most important happenings, would be the outcomes, which we could talk about next if you would like. I don't know.
Let's go ahead.
Do you have something that says outcomes?
Yes, I do. You guys might even saw it a little beforehand when I was fiddling around with it. But yeah, so outcomes. Yeah, there was quite a few this episode. Some with how they do with the show, kind of flip flopping. Alternate universe swapping character roles, and in this instance, you got old boy kind of filling Carl's shoes. Well, possibly filling Carl's.
I mean that's kind of what they're doing. At least some of the Carl stories, he's going to be taking that spot. But outcomes. At Rosita's bedside, Michonne and Sadiq talk about, mending fences with the other communities, and Michonne agrees with the future thought of that, but stands by her decisions. The outcome of something that happened ended up in Michonne's ultimate decision. What happened? Like we know about the scars, the branded scars they all have. Something really bad happened over that 6-year period. We're not sure what it is.
But they said, we read somewhere, I think we mentioned it last week, that they are going to reveal that second half of the season. But we didn't get any clues this episode.
I'm sure they will. I mean, that's at least they can do, right?
Right.
They're taking away a lot of other things that they presented. But Rosita, though, finally wakes up and alarms Michonne about these evolved walkers, so to speak, a.k.a. the Whisperers. And they keep circling Eugene's hideout, and she's like, and, they're communicating and all that. So Michonne, of course, goes right away to help out, and, it's a little bit too late because they're kind of surrounded. But, other outcomes include, even with a well-rounded plan, Daryl can't get the herd to follow firecrackers. His dog barking, nada. At this moment, even Daryl realizes... This herd is not normal, and maybe Eugene and Jesus, their theories, could be kind of true. He was really unsure at that point, but the main outcome is Jesus going sword crazy, like you saw in that preview.
Right.
And it led to that full reveal of what the walkers are, and they are the Whisperers. And we saw when Daryl removed,
sliced off the sewn, skin or hide
right out
of
of Leatherface's fucking Texas Chainsaw
totally
action.
like a leather action. I wonder if they stack multiple layers skins on.
This show is inspired by so many different genres of movie and horror, and it shows, and it's cool. Good job.
It's pretty cool, yeah, man. I mean, yeah. So like Negan, for example, he almost walked right out of his cell this episode, but just like out of the comic again, he went back into it. So pretty interesting. It's almost like, he ultimately, help me out here. He pretty much wants to prove to them that,
At this point, he wants to be just known as the guy in the basement window and
Right.
not the guy who like was responsible for all the horrible things in the past. And I don't think he knows Rick is dead yet. Like, I think they tried to keep that from him and maybe successfully have so far. We're also going to find that out probably
I didn't
in
even
February
think about
when
that,
they
actually.
continue season 9.
Right.
Is did he already know, or does he not know at all yet? And we get to see him find out.
Alrighty. Well, we'll talk about these characters a little more, you know, speaking of like Henry and whatnot here in a little bit, but let's go ahead and jump into some Fans Choice 1. And specifically about some characters, some of our favorite characters in the show. So let me get that ready real quick here. We want to do something a little different this week, and we kind of wanted to combine Fans Choice 1 and 2 together, and it kind of like a joint kind of Fans Choice extravaganza. Let me go.
I guess they can stand by on what the second half is.
Right. We'll wait to that later. But the first one is Number one. Out of these 4 heroes or legends of the show, who would you like to have as your companion during the zombie/walker apocalypse?
Correct. Who do you want by your side?
Right.
You know, who do you trust that's going to help you survive, that you could get along with maybe, or maybe that doesn't matter. It's just the person you think that could get you food and get you safety, you know, or maybe it's someone that's in between. Who knows? There's 4 characters that are main OG characters, and we're going to rattle them out right now. Well,
go ahead.
Number 1, it has to be Rick Grimes.
Rick Grimes.
Oh, yes.
He's the leader.
Mm-hmm. He's the leader. You give him a hatchet or a machete and nothing else, and he'll still go crazy mad red and just whack a whole herd of walkers down, or at least a nice opening for you guys to run. I mean, his leadership is another big thing too.
Yeah, his leadership and his rage are definitely strength, but his rage can also be his weakness, to where, you know, sometimes he can lose control and lose his mind slightly. So
and those are some of the greatest episodes.
Those are. So though
Because
Rick
it's
has
fiction.
some, you know, crazy
It's okay.
right. Though he has those crazy tendencies, he also you know, drives a good force forward. So number 2.
Daryl, of course.
Daryl.
Norman Reedus, Daryl. Daryl Dixon. He's an expert tracker, an expert hunter, an expert survivalist in the wild. And of course, he has the crossbow long-range action of, you know, keeping you safe.
So in terms of survival, he's
and
got you
short
there.
range. Nowadays, he's got the double knife action.
Yeah, so
that
he's
goes
good in all
down
sorts of,
it's humongous
you know,
blades.
fighting, surviving. Though in terms of necessary leading, he doesn't have too much charisma. He doesn't have the biggest personality, and sometimes he can make rash decisions, which we've seen before, costly decisions. Though he is good at redeeming himself, a leader shouldn't be about always having to redeem themselves.
Well, number 3, Carol herself, Carol Petler.
Kind of the opposite of Daryl, but also maybe a little bit more, has a little more leadership quality.
Yeah, she may not have the years and years of seasoning that like Rick has had as an officer, and that Daryl has had as, well, being the brother of Merle. I mean, that alone right there. Mm-hmm. But once she became herself at the prison and past Woodbury and the big save and Terminus, and of course one of our favorite episodes, just look at the flowers already. Just look at the flowers. Mm-hmm. That was, I think that was called the Grove. But all that growth that she's had, you know, all the loss that she's experienced, everything she can do for your safety would be probably even more so, because she was killing walkers in the masses and or bad people that were about to slaughter our Rick and group.
Yeah, she'll kill walkers or humans either way, and she's pretty stealthy too.
Yeah. She can be cold too. I think she had her first tears ever just saying goodbye to Henry in this episode where we are reviewing.
Right.
Just saying goodbye to him. Like I think that's the first time she's actually like cried.
Yeah. So she's definitely got a lot of strengths.
Yeah.
Any weaknesses? I don't know. What do you guys think? But hey, on to number 4, who do we have?
Well, of course, we cannot deny Our Lady Deny, and that would
Right.
be Michonne. Michonne with the katana, probably our most favorite weapon, probably the most talked about weapon in books and in banter when it comes to zombie apocalypse specifically.
Oh yeah, definitely like the best weapon, melee weapon to have. It's got perfect distance. It's super sharp. It'll cut through most things.
Cut through most things in different ways.
Ways too, right? And I mean, it's just a great. You can stab, you can slice, you can use it as a defense. It's great, easy to clean, easy
and
to
there's
stow.
nothing wrong with having two katanas like
Right.
Leonardo in Ninja Turtles.
Right. So, who do you guys think? Who would you want to be your ultimate companion during the zombie apocalypse? And of course, as always, we have to bring our friend Jackson down here to help us figure out, well, the Walker Talker's decision. Jackson, you coming down here? Jackson!
Don't make me.
I told you we had our last show. It wasn't over yet. Just because we're not watching an episode this week doesn't mean. I know, Jackson. Geez, you just want some fucking. I know, but we can't talk about that on live television.
It's like a floss.
Okay. Oh, a floss. Are you? What is a skeleton gonna do with floss, Jackson?
I don't know, but it's like a green and white floss, and it's stuck.
Jackson. Let me see if I can get Jackson good.
You know what? Maybe just slide them on over.
Yeah. What's going on, Jackson?
This was the worst ever Jackson appearance, I think. It's because, oh my gosh,
Here.
I finally figured it out.
Oh, and I got him down.
Oh. Well, you know what? I gotta cap that off. That horrible live YouTube moment. With a cap for Jackson. He's been such a good matey. Who knows? You might see him. You might see him gaming on PanNerdia, or at least hanging out with Aaron during an adventure of some sorts. Or maybe again when Westworld comes back in the summertime.
Cowboy hat. Alrighty, so Jackson, who do you think? Who would you want to survive the zombie apocalypse with? What do you got? He's got Rick. And I mean, come on, guys. Of course, it's gonna be Rick, right?
I mean, the sentimental part is a big part of it. I understand. But but the fact that, I mean, Rick leading the way is a good thing. And if you can embrace his craziness at times, I think he'd survive quite well. And you would have like a decent person to talk to. I don't see too much with Daryl.
Right.
Mr. Personality there.
Carol seems to always be kind of brooding to herself, and then Michonne used to be brooding. You might have some talking with her, but I think ultimately, Rick, you got the most well-rounded. You're good to go in all aspects with him. So, alrighty. Sorry about the Jackson was. He just didn't want. He doesn't want this to be the last episode of 2018, guys.
Oh, just sit down. Oh. You think you can survive this right there?
Sure.
You know what? Here, let's give him a break. The man has no legs, so just let him. We'll just let him chill. There we go. That's good. Right there. All right. That's good. Relax.
All right, Jackson. Enough out of you. Let's talk about some more characters.
Sure.
Specifically,
you know what?
ones from this past episode.
Yes. I think we will touch on Henry. We will touch on, like, Aaron and Jesus and all that. But I want to start off with Michonne and Carol, just because they're both at Hilltop, and they shouldn't have been there, and they were there, and it's like really impactful. I think with what they're going to do in the next 8 episodes is, something really bad happens at Hilltop. Maybe Michonne will change her mind, and I think something really, according to the previews, really bad is going to happen at or around or even in Hilltop. with the whispers. But we get to see Hilltop's all clear inside protocol during Michonne's delivery of Magna's people. So they already have like a really good system of getting inside before walkers or outsiders even come near to the gates, you know. And this is Michonne's first time inside Hilltop for many years. Currently, Tara, Enid, and unfortunately, Alden are
Jersey.
they're running things during the Daryl Aaron Jesus rescue, which, by the way, Tara delivered that message to Michonne in what had to have taken a whole bunch of takes.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, Daryl, Bear, going to get Eugene, but then, Rosita did this and that, and she was like,
and they were trying to make it not confusing. Yeah.
Right, they did it on purpose to have a little comedy there, and it was, I just was like, watch this, nod in my head, like, yep, that's good, yep, nice try.
Right, like, oh, okay, yeah, Tara, of course she's delivering it, okay.
But, Carol and Michonne are hesitant to talk to each other at first, because obviously something went down. We have to wait till, February to find out what went down.
Something awkward, I guess.
But eventually they do talk, and mainly about Ezekiel's fair that's coming up. Wants to bring the communities together. But clues and hints of something that dreadful happened, and I think it happened in Alexandria, or because maybe Michonne made some decision of not doing something to help out, or something, because she's like, they all hate me. Like, she made some sort of decision, I think. But perhaps it coincides with the brands, at least, the X scars. We know that. But Carol says her goodbyes to Henry and rides off to the kingdom in an extra tall carriage with Bow Woman. I forget that character's name. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I forget her name,
but
too.
It was the first time Henry has ever seen Carol cry. Like I said, even us fans, like, we've seen her cry maybe once every 3 seasons. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Yeah, and Henry going off to be, a blacksmith apprentice.
Right, and that's a lot of meaning there that Carol cried, because, like, he's got to do this right kind of thing.
Right, she's looking to him as, her legacy to a degree now.
Right.
And he's there, he's doing it for his parents. Mm-hmm. And though he seems lonely, he's getting caught up with the kids that are there, the children that live in Hilltop. And, I think it is pretty interesting that he's, getting the blacksmith of the town is the character, I forget the guy's name, but earlier in the season, his son died. Earl Sutton. His son passed, through Maggie's kind of command. And, that whole story, he tried to kill her while drunk via Gregory's whispering.
Right.
Gregory's whispering. And, so it's interesting to kind of come full circle now. He's like doing good, and he's kind of looking down at even Henry as a son, probably, because he's as the blacksmith teaching Henry, and even scolding him sort of, but not so much so when he was drinking, because he's like, I was drunk too.
Earl's taking Henry under his wing, not just for to learn how to be a blacksmith, as much as you're right. It's kind of like an adopted son.
Yeah.
Or he's almost like a foster parent almost to him.
It's filling that void slightly.
I think Earl and his wife probably become that, or at least try to. But, once Carl's character was taken out, it is kind of evident that Henry's going to experience these things, because, Carl's character wasn't really into the Sophia character that was still alive. And Enid's kind of taking that spot. But now it's got the other way around, where Henry is interested in the girl, but she has no idea. She's not interested.
But now there's the other girl that he got introduced to.
Now there's got to be a whisper that he meets, not just the nerdy girl.
Not the nerdy girl, but the whisper
which
chick.
Probably something might happen there, and right after it happens, the poor thing's probably gonna die.
Right.
That's how it happens usually. Like, as soon as there's some sort of young love connection, one of them's gone.
See ya.
Right. But yeah. What else we got here? Well, Moonshine Drunk Fest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was in order, and he was trying to get along with the teenagers, and then they met up on the rooftop. Next thing you know, it's the evening, and they're drinking the moonshine, and then they're like, "What do you guys? I hate to see what you guys do, and you're really actually bored."
And he's like, "Oh, we got walkers in the hole.
We got a walker in the pit for a little ring toss game. Want to play?" And of course, Henry's drunk, and not of course, but he just jumps in there and does a Morgan fucking kill.
Right,
he's like, sorry.
His sensei, Morgan.
And next thing you know, he's in the drunk tank, right?
Yep, and that's when we get the talk from
Yeah, Earl.
Earl.
As well as the best part of the show for me was finding out that the kid puked on Tara's boots. I wish they would have had him do it. Actually,
I
shown.
forgot about that. That's
If
pretty
Eugene's
funny.
gonna puke all over Rosita's chest, you might as well have Henry puke all over.
Right. Fill everybody's
boots, whatever.
fantasies.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's probably why they didn't show it. Sickos, their foot stuff. But anywho, Daryl, Jesus, and Aaron. I guess we can go right to them.
Right.
Daryl breaks the conversation with the alarm clock toss. That was pretty cool.
Which, of course, is an Enid trick, actually.
Oh yeah.
Remember, Enid did that in one of the past seasons.
Yeah. Aaron was brown-nosing Jesus via bringing up Jesus' past accomplishments, like finding the Alexandrians and finding people in general.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why is Jesus' past feats seeking and finding and protecting all brought to light? Ooh, geez, I wonder if Mr. Gimple, you know, I know Kang has the final say, but I'm pretty sure she was told, okay, it's time for him to go.
Right.
But anyway, the rescue trio, they, of course, use Dog, one of our new favorite characters of the show, to find Eugene and as a storm is brewing, and a fog envelops the area. Once they found via Dog and sniffing around in the affirmative by Eugene that was underneath the haystack in
That was so funny.
little shed
Eugene,
underground thing.
You down there?
Yeah. But he shares that the herd is not normal. They've been whispering to each other, and they're making their rounds. This is their third time back to try to find him.
Yeah, they're trying to find him.
Right.
They're looking for me.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
And he's
imagine...
Rosita can't comply, and but they
Yeah.
don't know yet because they didn't see her awake yet. Although
Right.
Michonne just did, and she's on her way. But after fleeing the barn, Eugene was in fear and everything, and his knee was still banged up. But Daryl, Aaron, Jesus, Eugene, they try to plan an escape while at this three-way road intersection after they ran off for a little while. And Eugene begins to have this weird evolution theory, hence the name of this episode is Evolution, about maybe they relearned how to talk or at least how to hunt better. And the hunt better part kind of made a little sense to Aaron and Jesus, but Daryl wasn't convinced yet. But
Right.
obviously after he did the firecrackers and letting his dog bark at them and they still went the other way,
Mm-hmm.
he knew something awful is up.
Oh, yeah.
But Negan and Gabriel, I mean, that's I think the only other characters we can talk about, really. I mean, we kind of mentioned pretty much everyone else, but we start off by seeing Negan having one of many sessions with Gabriel. Gabriel is trying to create a calming affirmation thing with sounds and whatever words.
Right.
But it turns out that Negan's blurting gossip out loud is all that happens about the stuff he hears out his window. He was bragging about that, so
He's basically an asshole.
he's got shitty taste still,
Mm-hmm.
and his shitty words continue during a standard cuff 'em and turd removal via Gabriel and Negan's bedpan toilet. But Gabriel is quoted. It's Gabriel's quote. This is the quote of the show, by the way, of episode 8. Here's the quote: "It's bad enough I get to clean up your shit, but I got to listen to it too."
I did. I actually
Gabriel.
mentioned that during the show. I was like, that's probably my favorite
And
line
they
of the
show
season.
the bedpan thing, oh, that is terrible.
Yeah, this is gross.
Maybe they should let him out just to do that. You can come and see daylight, but just to empty your shit in
Right, we'll just
another
walk you
container.
out and change to the bathroom every day.
I mean, hey, he's gonna look forward to shitting every day. That's for sure.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean.
Gabriel, he go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying Gabriel basically he kind of put him in his place with that little quote there.
But later on, we see Negan doing what? He's got a tennis ball and he's banging the baseball. He has got the baseball glove and the tennis ball. The ball slips through the jail bars, and Negan realizes that Gabriel left the cell unlocked. With the incoming storm serving up as camouflage for Negan, especially at night, Negan's grin is what ends the scene. So he's looking down. He's the door's open. He's looking up, and he sees the storm and the darkness outside. So who knows? Maybe he might leave it open and stay in there and see, I'm good, and play that card.
Oh right, yeah, 'cause
Or
that was in
maybe
the comic.
Or
but-
maybe he goes out and explores for a while and maybe grabs some stuff that he wants and goes back to his cell, or maybe he just leaves and just goes for it.
Right.
Who knows where Gimple and all the writers are going with this?
Who knows? Hopefully Gimple goes.
Hopefully they do.
Alright, well that leads us to our appreciations. We can do appreciations in general or about the season. Though we've kind of talked about our appreciations as the seasons went on, we can kind of keep it a little general here if you are about the episode proper.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I will go ahead and start. As far as my appreciations for the mid-season finale review is the kind of introduction of aspect of horror, at least in my mind. It was kind of getting stale. Wasn't, the walkers were always there, but they were never really, it kind of got to the point where they weren't scary. Even their aspect of horror, it wasn't horrifying. It was just, there's like, the fly infestation. Just avoid them or whatever. It kind of became like an annoyance, but not really a threat in my mind. And the horror aspect kind of fiddled away, especially during like the war with Negan, and then into this season with just them building a bridge and how they're kind of just basically paving the way for Rick's exit. Nothing was really, there was no horror aspect to it really. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing really biting. But with these whispers being introduced, the walker hordes moving, and then the fact that there's humans amongst them wearing skin, and they talk to each other, and everybody's freaking out, and they don't know, and it's a mystery to them. And all this is adding those aspects back to the show that it really needed and it was missing, because that is the basis of this freaking show. And yeah, it can be a drama. Yeah, it can be a freaking soap opera-esque show. But you need to have the walkers, and not only just, there's a walker behind me, because they're so good at killing them now. Okay, it's this annoying little just shoe fly don't bother me thing. There needs to be more threats with them, and this is the ultimate way to do it. So
I just have 3 pretty simple, I'm keeping it simple for episode 8 here, appreciations. And one is the great camera shot of Michonne seeing fresh human blood on her sword instead of the black walker rotting gunk on it.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Because right. Once they got a little deeper into the herd, they were actually killing whispers, not walkers, but people dressed up in the flesh of the dead. And that was pretty cool. That was just the whole idea of having that quick moment, and the way they shot it was cool. Daryl cutting the Leatherface style stitching job on the back of the head, of the Whisper. That was like prime, and I already gave props to that earlier about how it's very reminiscent to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface, and that whole deal. But and finally, in episode 8, there's a preview, I guess, or maybe it's in episode 8 where the Whispers, they're saying like, they are trapped. Circle around. Don't let them slip away. Keep them together.
I don't remember. It might be in the preview. We won't be able to hear it when we play it, but I appreciate those things as well.
Pretty much, obviously, I mean, it just goes to say what you were just saying too. It was that old school horror aspect that we lost once Negan came along. There's a little bit less of it, and less of it.
He kind of brought a little of it, but it was more like kind of like thriller,
right?
Versus,
but
and
when
then
it came
it got to more like action after that. It was just like an action show, with annoying zombies in the back, like get away, throwing salt on the zombies almost like slugs, like just get away. They're just garden zombies. They won't harm you. Those are just the common garden walker. All right, so speaking of walkers in Apocalypse, let's go back into our fans' choice and now bring up our second part of our fans' choice situation tonight. Now, we asked you guys, what hero out of these 4 heroes, Rick, Daryl, Michonne, or Carol, would you like to accompany you on your journey through the zombie apocalypse? We chose Rick Grimes. Now we ask you guys,
which villain would you dread to take down? Or you know what I mean? Like, who would be the hardest villain to have to basically battle?
Based on your choice of your hero,
both mentally and physically.
Play your own devil's advocate and decide out of these 4 villains we give you, which one would be your toughest battle or adversary during this apocalyptic struggle. Yeah, you already got the apocalypse to face, and you got your ultimate companion, but who's going to be the one person that's going to give you some trouble out of these 4 villains?
Well, you had late season 3 and all of season 4. You had the governor.
The governor,
The
classic.
governor that Michonne took his eye out and eventually took Herschel's head off, only to get stabbed all the way through by Michonne, left for dead, and we hoped for him to become a walker, but what happened? Tara's sister just came and just blasted his skull open. Yeah.
Right. So ultimately, you know what? He's definitely, got some stature behind him. He
knows how to control.
He knows
groups.
how to control. He knows how to control groups for sure. Keep him entertained.
He knows how to make walker traps. That's for sure too.
Though he's not good at of showing his dark side, he keeps it contained and then ends up letting it boil over and ends up being destructive in that nature.
Yes,
so that could
master of disguise.
That could be bad for you, but also that could be bad for his own group. So maybe he wouldn't be the toughest. Maybe he would be based on who you picked.
But he's more than meets the eyes, so maybe that's, to your advantage if he's, I don't know.
Right.
You would have to know. It's your disadvantage, actually. What am I saying?
Well, no, I mean,
We're
if it's to
here.
your advantage and okay, I can take his ass out easy, so he wouldn't be a challenge. So, who do we have next then?
Well, there's Gareth, the hipster dude that ran Terminus.
Old Terminus.
And that was, I think, right after the prison.
Pretty much, yeah.
And, what they were doing there is they were putting signs all across the railways saying, come here to this sanctuary where, we're living in peace and harmony, yada, yada. And basically our group was following the arrows, and when they get there, they find out now they're prisoners of cannibals. And they have a whole butcher meat locker system of killing visitors and preserving their body parts and hanging them to dry and barbecuing them.
So you got you got a group that's led by a couple people, mainly an individual. They have a system. They have a way of eating food. They also have their own plants.
They eat people.
They eat people.
Yes.
They have weapons, guns. They have all sorts of ways. They have a walled facility. It's off a train yard. They got the setup.
Yeah. And by the way, just a little, because I don't really have any fun facts from episode 8 to share with you tonight, but I can tell you this: that Terminus, that train terminal, is actually right behind Turner Field, where the Atlanta Braves play Major League Baseball in Atlanta. It's like right behind it. And
That's funny, isn't
it's
it?
pretty wild. I mean, you really do, the way they film it, you feel like it's way off in the middle.
Right, just out in the middle of fucking nowhere, pretty much. So yeah, you definitely got a challenge trying to take them down in the apocalypse. But if you can figure it out and figure out their folly and their weakness in their structures, you can possibly make it out before getting thrown into a freight.
But before you end up like Bob, where they like chop your leg off and,
and
you wake up and your leg's like all like tied off.
Yeah, they're kind of like cockroaches. You got to make sure you kill them the first time, because if not, they'll cut a leg off while you're sleeping.
Well, of course, then we have Negan, the guy that kind of crashed the show for good at first, maybe just because how he like rolled in, and it was like, wow, that's quite the splash. It wasn't just him; it was just the writing of that show was so like powerful.
Right.
Taking Glenn and Abraham away the way they did. But then after that, what happened? Like, things slowed down, and everyone was kind of like, we were waiting for, like, when is our group of heroes gonna get back? When are they gonna? And it just they drug that out to the point where, like we said, it became less of a horror show and more of a.
And built into this all-out war is to try to be action-packed, but they just didn't do a good job of balancing it. But besides picking on the show, as far as Negan goes,
he's out there. He's got control of people. He knows how to use walkers as weapons, as well as modifying his own, whether it's Lucille the Bat or it's guns and knives dipped in walker gunk.
And different from the governor, he actually is very open about his ideals and his disdain.
Yeah, everything's put on the table in front of you. He's definitely not much of a liar unless it's a tactic for like a big scheme, a plan. but other than that, he's telling the truth of what he thinks, and if you don't like it, well, yeah, you probably shouldn't like it.
So it takes a little more to get him rattled because he's pretty smooth because he knows what he wants and what he's trying to get.
Yep.
And with that control and the power that he has, he's a pretty dirty villain. It's going to be tough to take him out, not only because, he's Negan, but his people are Negan. And he's kind of got to the point where he's got them trained like dogs or an extension of himself.
They can shut down roadways and interstates to close in on you. You know what I mean?
Right. They're like a mega virus controlled by a center nucleus, which is Negan himself.
Gosh, I'm already starting getting burnt out of Negan though.
Right. No shit.
Maybe
And,
Maggie or Rick will come back in like season whatever and just
season X.
put a cap in his head. But no, he was good now. And then it's like, so what?
Whatever. And then last but not least.
Oh yes. Well, I put down Alpha, but you guys aren't going to be introduced to him till February time. But the Whispers in general.
Kind of the ultimate combination of not only human villains, but the overarching villain of the Walkers.
Got to be, even for you that have not read the comics, there's got to be this element of mind control in a cult way for that whole system to work. To mesh Walker suits from head to toe to keep actual real Walkers around you, but still like eating and conversating, and it's a really weird way to camp and live, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely bizarre. So you gotta know it's gonna take a certain kind of person.
Very organized system.
Organized.
But in order for it to work, you have to really have some mind control over these people.
Oh yeah, and ultimately when you do that, you get control of them, and you get control of herds and hordes of Walkers. To the point where that's going to be your best weapon because you're hiding amongst them. We've seen that even just like 20 of them can take down a giant barbed wire fence just from their weight alone. That's only like 20 of them. So you have hundreds of them. We've seen they take down the whole
their weight
barn,
alone,
the farm.
But their whole weight alone in Alexandria back when Who's Diana was alive.
Right.
The tower thing
was
the church that was on the outside of the wall or whatever that came down. That was a great scary scene. That was back in the day, man.
So who do we think on PanNerdia would be, based on our pick, Rick? Who would be our toughest challenge? Well, hey, it's kind of self-explanatory, right? Rick's already faced the other three and he's won.
Correct.
So who else what would be his biggest challenge? Well, it would be, what the hell is that? The Whispers.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes, the Whispers led by, eventually you'll see, folks, Alpha. But,
might get a little snip of them here in our preview.
You might get a little scene there. I mean, think Phantom of the Opera and be like, oh, that's who they were talking about. You'll see.
Right. Well, speaking of that, we do actually, I forgot we actually have a preview for you guys. A little preview of the second half of the season. And we'll show you right now.
What tidbits of episodes 9 through 16 they're going to show us? I don't know. What order? I don't know.
Let's see.
But now we know.
Whoops.
It's a lot of dead people buried in Hilltop.
Caskets. We got back in the foggy lands while the Whisperers are still talking. Probably when they say that line you heard.
Well, that's probably going to be the opening scene when they come back.
Then we got the Whisperers looking during daylight. This bald guy walking up like he's some kind of de facto leader. Some chick talking to Daryl saying that you should be with these people.
She's a prisoner. She's
a
probably a Whisper they captured.
Yeah, she's like, you should go with us. What is it? You got Tara trying to act cool, but she's not. Yeah, man, it's gonna be crazy. Oh, here he is. Daryl fighting Alpha right here. And Michonne looking very distraught. And then, of course, they end it with
Michonne looked like someone really close to her just died, and she's slashing. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, she looked pretty. And hey, man,
you don't think they killed one of the kids or something, do you?
I hope not. I mean, with the way they're going and the way they're killing off major characters, she might go by the end of the season. By the end, here's my prediction for you. By the end of season 9, so when we come back in February, before the season 9 ends, Michonne's probably gonna go.
Right. I mean, we don't know if Denai's going to be part of season 10, so yeah, the next 8 episodes, everybody, it might be Michonne's last. But, as telegraphed through conversations before and during this episode 8, that is, we should have seen the whole Jesus death looming, but, the shock of no Rick and no Maggie, and now, it's like it ripped out from under us, especially Maggie. We missed the cues there about Jesus, but the next 8 episodes, starting late February, right before, we might see more Jesus scenes, just flashback form. Like, maybe they'll show us what happened in those missing 6 years,
I hope they do. And perhaps he has some more roles, because I was kind of upset that he just kind of died. I mean, it was a quick thing, but hey, you know what? Ultimately, the show needs some stuff like that too.
It's just hard to make predictions, though, because now that our core group has shrunk down to Carol, Daryl, Negan, and a small, 6 or 8 others that are, really, main-ish characters starting to take semi-leadership roles.
Right.
But overall, nothing too exciting except the fear of combating the Whispers. That's the excitement that we have.
That's the excitement, yeah. I hope it kind of ramps up the show, makes it a little, adds some
I can't rule out Angela
tension.
Kang doing a little Kang Pow, kapow to amaze us in the next 6 or 8 episodes.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
she could do something crazy, and but ultimately, what we're looking forward to are the Rick movies.
Yeah.
And I guess that leads us to our final blast of 2018 here on the Walker Talkers. And
can't believe already.
Yeah, I know, right? Pretty crazy how fast that goes, man. Before you know, they don't want to show Walkers over the holidays. Nobody wants that. Pete, would you like to roll us out with your final blast?
We should have photoshopped little Christmas hats on all the walkers behind us. Yeah, sure. Well, first I must say, even though Magna and Yoko helped the out in the cemetery there, making the whole retreat happen, or that kind of semi-retreat by the Whispers, I still do not at all trust her right now. The retreat could have been because Magna was there, you know? And, she's in cahoots with the Whispers, I think, not, giving anything super away there. But my final blast would have to be, well, at this pace, no Carl, no Rick, no Maggie, no Jesus. The Savior Sanctuary arc stuff is over and out, and the Whisper arc is just now here. Well, might as well clean house with the cast or something, like it's a roster, and, start fresh. But, while I contemplate ditching a possible Michonne-less Season 10, like we just said, next October in the fall, the one olive branch I hope to, the one thing they have that's holding me on to me is the anticipation of that global view of Rick Grimes, and we get to take this ride with Rick Grimes, but movie style.
Right. Absolutely.
So I would have to blast that, as upset and kind of disappointed I am with some of the direction in this season. They might wow us in the second half, but more importantly, we're going to have Rick Grimes movies. Yeah.
I mean, final blast here. What is the product of the first half of Season 9? Rick Grimes movies. That's what I got out of it. Yeah, there's the resurgence of some horror aspect of the Whispers, but with them killing off important characters, not only from last season, but this season, and possibly, well, not really killing off, but just writing off, and possibly some characters in the second half of the season, there's not many stilts holding up this house anymore. It's gonna fall. It's like the bridge that they were building over that river cascading, and there's not much support holding this up anymore.
Lots of symbolism there.
And ultimately, something needs to happen to keep everything kind of working and going forward. And Daryl and Carol, I don't really know if they can hold it afloat. Carol maybe, but Daryl, I don't know, man. He's gonna have to step up his chops a little bit if he wants a chance in my book. And
well, we know the Daryl, Carol, and Negan characters are going to carry on.
Right.
We didn't talk about it, but we don't have to really talk about it. But who is going to die next? The way they're going. First of all, who I'd like to see die would be people like Alden and Tara And, you know, I can make a little mini list for you right now.
Right.
But that's not the direction this place goes. We're probably going to lose, like, Rosita and Ezekiel and maybe even Aaron or something in all one fell swoop, you know?
Right. Look,
I mean,
a show needs
damn.
to lose important characters. Example, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad. Shows need to lose these important characters to drive the story forward, but it needs to be done in important, interesting ways. Not like how they wrote off Maggie. That's not propelling the story forward. That is them just being bad writers. With the way Rick got kind of shoved off at the end, they tried their best to make a good writing, and they did what they could, and they're giving us redemption through movies. So, Carl, bad on their part. Again, they didn't write it out good. You know what I'm saying? They're fumbling the damn ball in so many ways.
It makes you wonder how much of it is the actor's side of, like, you know, is it their acting? No, they never say that. It's definitely not that. Is it, you know, they're planning on doing something else and they want out? Most of the time, it's not that.
Right.
It's just the way they want to go, the direction they want to go, the direction, the big picture, the global view, which is something that here on Walker Talkers we've been begging for and waiting for, and here we go, I guess. But as far as their OG show,
I like how he's like,
yeah,
he's like, hey, here's Pete's head.
But as far as the OG show here, The Walking Dead, it's kind of like, oh man, like I'll hang in there, but like, who's gonna be starring in season 10?
The only thing keeping us hanging are the movies, man, because the show right now, we're going to keep watching, and the whispers are keeping our attention, but the actual just show, it's kind of almost a chore at this point to watch it. I mean, we enjoy parts, but we're getting to the point where we're getting a little worn out, and it's kind of like, okay, we got to watch the show some more. But there's not that, fuck yeah, we're ready to go. That's not really there anymore. We're excited. We're like that for the movies,
Yeah.
but as far as the show, I don't have that spark for the show anymore. I'll be honest with you guys, I really don't, because Rick's not on the show, Carl's not on the show,
But
Maggie's not on the show.
It's quite a balance, though. I mean, promising us 2 Rick movies.
That's good.
That's like, well, final blast. Well.
So, with all that said, guys, you know where we stand here. We will see you back in 2019 in February for the second half of Season 9 of The Walking Dead here on the Walker Talkers. We are not done yet. And, of course,
As
we will
Master
be
Roshi
here.
would say, enjoy the enjoyment.
Grilling. And, of course, we'll be here to review those movies when they come back, too.
Yes.
So, from PanNerdia, as always, you guys have a great evening. Enjoy watching whatever you're going to watch tonight, because Walkers aren't on.
Thanks for doing a little walking and talking with us. We
Yeah.
love to talk about all things apocalypse, not just The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah. And we'll have some more segments and stuff, I'm sure, as the Sundays progress. Pete won't be with me every Sunday until the Walker Talkers come back, but maybe I'll try to get him to come through here and there for some podcasts or other discussions. We might discuss some more things Walker related, some things Breaking Bad related. Hey, shit, we might
Better
even talk some
Call
things Dragon
Saul.
Ball or Saul related.
Dragon Ball and Saul.
So we can talk about all sorts of stuff here on PanNerdia. And I'm sure there'll be some more review shows coming along.
And the gaming and the painting will continue.
Everything. Plenty more, guys. And new studio at the end of the year. So by the time you see Walk Talkers, there will be some different things. Graphics may be a little the same. I might change some things around. But for the most part, new studio, new setup. And always growing here at PanNerdia. So we thank you guys very kindly for joining us on this journey, and we hope to see you again here soon.
50 Bort minutes of Walker Talker action. The Walking Dead.
And we'll end it for you guys with our theme song.
Let's get to talking. Walker Talker.
Walker Talk.